Have you ever noticed how painted images are all around us? That's where I come in. I'm a curator at an art gallery. I choose paintings for people to look at, and I'm on a mission to show you why looking is worth it, to show you why painting matters. It can challenge you, play with you, and even lift your soul. Come with me on this journey through art and you'll see the world through new eyes. In the world of painting, there are two camps. One packed with passionate fans who make it their business to get in close, and another full of people who find it all a bit baffling and choose to walk on by. So what's painting really all about? Painting is beautifully simple. Whether it's someone making marks on the walls of a cave eons ago or in a studio today, the recipe is so basic. We all know it. Take some coloured stuff and spread it on a surface using a hand or a brush. And yet when that brush touches down, anything is possible. That painting can tell us how someone looks, it can communicate how someone feels. It can become a window onto the world we all know, or an imagining of worlds we'd never dreamed of. Say the word painting though, and out come the doubts. Isn't painting past its use-by date? Doesn't it struggle to compete with big media like the movies? Don't you have to talk art talk to get it? Well, no it isn't, no it doesn't, and no, you don't. And that raises the big question. Why should you listen to me? This is Christchurch Art Gallery, where I work as a curator. A gallery isn't just a storehouse for old artworks or a place to mope through on a rainy day. It's a space for play. A maze to get enjoyably lost in. An entry into parallel worlds. It's a place to take your time and learn something new. And there's a simple reason why I'm drawn through the doors every day. Painting is why I'm here. Now, I'd be terrible at making it, but I love looking at it. Love looking at these things that communicate, but through something other than words. And now I get to work here, get to choose paintings for these walls, paintings that I hope will slow people down, spin them round, and maybe even send them back out of the gallery to look at the world through new eyes. But nothing puts a spring in my step like the arrival of a new artwork in the building. These boxes have travelled for miles, they've arrived in the building, but they are yet to be unpacked. I can't wait to see what's inside. Boxes inside boxes, inside boxes, containing 1,600 paintings. And on the front of every one of those paintings, the artist has painted a word or a phrase plucked from a dictionary of art terms. So it's as if in here we have the whole history of art from A through to Z. This is Table of Dynasties by John Reynolds. And once all 1,600 pieces are assembled, it makes one great big work of art. It's packed with ideas, feelings and facts, and sums up what I love about painting. Its power to make unexpected connections. Table of Dynasties is out of its box. All this eye-popping colour and language has burst up and out into the open. It's a table full of possibilities. It's a banquet of painting. And that thought really brings it home for me. Painting is a feast for the eyes and the mind and for the heart. Every painting in the gallery has something to say. And every person who comes to the gallery is looking and listening for a work that speaks to them. But these encounters with paintings don't happen only inside big public galleries. You don't have to work in a gallery to fall in love with painting. It can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. And I'm going to take you back to the place where it happened for me. A place called Hilderthorpe. Last stop at the end of a dead straight 3-hour drive south towards Oamaru, where the aunts, uncles and cousins would converge every Christmas at my grandparents' farm. This is the place. I haven't been inside it for a decade, but standing here, the memories come flooding back. The outbursts of flowers, the chugging diesel tractor, collecting fresh eggs, the nutcase sheepdog, and my grandmother's prized mouse-catching cat. All paradise to kids from the city. If I look long enough, I can imagine everything and everyone still here. But the room I remember best is the one right there at the front, the one we called the art room. But it wasn't a room for making art. It was a kind of junk room. It was a storage space for all the stuff that no one had the heart to throw out. It was a haven from the adult world. And we called it the art room because the walls were covered floor to ceiling with my grandmother's paintings. My grandmother painted as a hobby, and she painted things she liked or laughed at, from blooming hydrangeas and new turnips to wide-eyed owls and rats and traps. We kids may not have paid the paintings much attention, but they were what made the art room special, charged it with a sense of possibility and permission. In the art room, the normal rules did not apply. You could upend things, rearrange the furniture, rummage in cupboards and trunks. And looking back, I realised this is where I first made the connection. If you wanted invention, curiosity, misbehaviour, flights of the imagination, look for a room with painting on the wall. And this was the beginning of a much bigger adventure. Painting was about to change my world. When it comes to music, fans are passionate. Music junkies search the bins for works by their favourite artists. They're looking for the best experience they can find. And it's fair to say that those fans are elitist. The good news is the doors aren't closed. Elites are open to all comers. It's exactly the same deal for fans of art. But how exactly do you become a fan of painting? Well, here are some stories about how it happened to me. Somewhere back there in the basements of memory, all of us, you and me, will have an image that sparked us, that rocked our world, that set us alight. And for me, it was comics. And in particular, this comic, 2000 AD. Every Tuesday I would go to the Richmond Dairy to see if the copy had arrived, and every Tuesday it had not. It was there Wednesday though, when I had my $1 pocket money. I'd get one of these for 45 cents, also the 50-cent mixture, go home, lie on the carpet and get lost in the pictures inside. Opening a new issue of the comic, I'd go straight to the artists I liked best. Gruesome Brian Bolland, rough-edged Carlos Ezquerra. I'd lean right in, trying to enter the hand-inked worlds. And maybe that's when this addiction to looking kicked in. Sometimes back then, the sight of art felt more like punishment than pleasure. For a long time, I harboured a totally irrational dislike of the great British landscape painter John Constable, based on the fact that I used to have to eat the Sunday roast off a set of these, good cork placemats. For a kid stuck inside, marooned halfway between mains and dessert, on a hot day, John Constable's paintings looked boringly British and disappointingly free of bandits. About 20 years later, I turned a corner at the National Gallery in London, saw a painting, one of these paintings, and just about reeled backwards with its force. It was a huge, seething, paint-heavy thing. Clouds as thick as porridge, soil you could nearly smell, light and moisture on the move wherever you looked. Everything that mattered was there in the paint, which wasn't just applied with a brush, but also gouged on with a knife. And none of what mattered had survived the translation to the photo my lunch got served up on. The lesson is, never trust a placemat. Sometimes, though, photographs of paintings are more than enough to ignite the passions of a fan. That's why, for the next stop, I'm going to include not a painting, but this book. And man, did it blow my tiny mind. 10-year-old boys love strangeness and they love skill. Dali delivered both. Maximum weirdness with maximum precision. Elastic bodies, clocks that flop like uncooked meat. What the hell was I looking at? I wasn't even sure I was allowed to be looking. And that was the eureka. It seemed that art was a place where you got to stare at things you didn't yet have words for. I like my art these days a little calmer, but we got to be honest about the things that moved us earlier in our lives. And nothing moves us more than a well-earned lesson. I was 20 years old, I had my first job as an art critic, and I was assigned to review a show by the expressionist Alan Pearson. Now, Pearson is an artist with a sizable reputation. And in the past, I'd liked the way he brushed energy into paintings of faces and places. But his new show, called Go Home Poem, was a reaction to being picked on for his English heritage. And I reckoned he'd gone all woolly and wordy. As an earnest young writer, I saw it as my duty to call it as I saw it, to call a mess a mess. But then the paper came out and I saw my name above that negative take. I thought I had better go back to the gallery and make sure I'd called it right. And about 5 minutes after I turned up, the artist turned up too. That's when the trouble started. He was boiling when he came in and only got hotter. How much of his stuff had I seen? Had I really looked? And there I stood on the art critic equivalent of training wheels and did my sputtering best to justify what I'd put on the page. And despite staggering out of there with a racing pulse, I've got to hand it to Alan Pearson. He gave me my first glimpse into a world of passionate opinion on the other side of the canvas. Now jump ahead another 10 years. I was working as a curator at Dunedin Public Art Gallery and one day away from the opening of a big show. I was going into the biggest room in the building to check on progress on a very big painting by a Melbourne artist called Rose Nolan. Usually big words sell a product or hammer us with a message, but Rose was using whopping red letters to speak up for something very different. Selfless is what her painting said. It was a massive shout out for modesty. By 6 a.m. the next morning, I knew it was going to be a painting I would never forget, because that was the time that I came here to Dunedin Hospital. And an hour or so later, my son Amos was born. As I walked the hospital corridors, Rose's big word marked the big moment perfectly. It's branded in my mind forever. In a way, I couldn't be farther from the next painting. It was painted 500 years ago on the other side of the world, and there's no special event in my life attached to it. But the amazing thing about painting is the way it brings the past nearer, connects us to a bigger human picture. Whenever I look at this work, Man of Sorrows in the Arms of the Virgin, its maker, Hans Memling, is at once 500 years away and close enough to touch. But it's even simpler than that. We all know about tears, about skin, about the sharpness of nails, and you don't need to know anything more than what a mother is and how much she loves to find this work heartbreaking and totally gripping. A great painting can connect with daily life in the way a great song can too. It can carry memories, mark a moment, remind us of people and places that matter. But finding that one painting doesn't mean the job's done and dusted. For any true fan, there's never any question about the painting that matters most. It's the one you're off to see next. Once I realised paintings had the power to open up worlds I didn't know existed, I couldn't get enough. And I realised there's something more important than going to the gallery to see some paintings. And that's going back to the gallery again, to find new paintings to look at and to find new things to see in old ones. The beauty of painting is that once you've found one you love, a painting that gets you in the head and the heart, your appetite isn't satisfied. In fact, it's heightened. Looking at painting is all about the feeling that there's always something new to discover. Like how noisy a painting can be. In this painting from 1985, it's called Radio On, the painter, Bill Hammond, takes a whole swag of conventions for showing space, for portraying a room. And he stretches them out, he distorts them, he cranks up the volume. Perspective lines rush off at weird angles. Inorganic objects seem to develop lives of their own. There's this sense of vertigo, of nausea. The whole room seems to have skin problems. And here's what gets me. I don't want to live in this world, but I have trouble taking my eyes off it. And every time I walk past this painting by Jude Ray, and I must have seen it dozens of times, I grow sure that something, some story, some scene, maybe some body, is waiting to be discovered behind those beautifully painted sheets. Jude works wonders with the power of illusion. Using nothing more than white and grey, she convinces us this flat surface is rustling with depth and life. It's as if, to spark the imagination, the thing to do is not reveal all your secrets, but to conceal them behind a deceptively calm surface. I first discovered this painting shrouded under tissue deep in a drawer in one of our storerooms. Watercolours like this painting are the invalids of the gallery world. They're pale, they're light shy, and they're never allowed out in public to play for very long. They don't have the brass and the oomph and the drama of oil paintings. But Rita Angus, who made this small work, turns this idea on its head. You've got to come close to see this work, and when you do come close, you discover a world of dappled light that looks like it would blow off the page with the slightest breath. And it's that gentleness, that held breath quality, that gives this work its power. I've walked past these paintings so many times, and each time I see them, they have something fresh to say. But the problem painting faces out in the big rowdy world is that it says what it says very quietly. So quietly it can be easy to miss. And that's where we viewers play a big part. Paintings aren't going to come and knock on your door and ask for a blind date. We've got to go to them. Paintings may end up in grand public galleries, but that's not where they start life. So that's where I'm heading now, to an artist's humble studio to find out about fandom, art love, and looking at painting from a master of the art of enthusiasm, the maker of Table of Dynasties, the artist who took the whole alphabet of art and burst it right out of its box. John?
Justin, how are you?
Very good. Yourself?
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. A big memory from my first ever Auckland gallery trip is a work by John Reynolds. The painting was part map, part chart, part puzzle, and I wasn't sure exactly what I was seeing, but the wondering, the puzzling, the hunt for connections turned out to be addictive. It's always such a buzz to come into your studio, invariably jumping with colour. Do you model the whole thing on the kindergarten art class?
That's right. Well, of course, Justin, I think that you know, we all love that word play, and I think that it's the job description.
He's sprayed paint, brushed it, poured it on. But his favourite device is the line he lays down with a fat stick of oil paint.
I mean, they're just so unapologetically delicious.
A line that leaps, stutters, spirals and stretches across acres of space, as if trying to weave together every known visual fragment in the galaxy. So here you are in the studio just about every day of the week. What is it about the creative process, the day-to-day mucking in of the studio that you like?
It's the kiddie's creche, where there's the wet stuff, the dry stuff, the messy stuff, and the aprons on. But it's so easy to make a mess and so hard to do something with any kind of merit. That's really what gets me through the door every morning. I simply don't know what's waiting for me in here. I don't know what the question will be. I don't know what the answers will be.
What for you, then, is the purpose of painting? What's the point of it?
It cuts right to the essence of the vitality of life. You know, you get this whoosh thing which telescopes your life, and it also concertinas history.
I felt that whoosh in Sydney a few years ago where John let loose a painting in 7,000 pieces called Cloud. Every little canvas shimmering with New Zealand slang. The artist became a kind of loudspeaker for all the funny and lively chatter that fills our everyday conversations. Like all John's work, Cloud reminded me of rule number 1 about looking at paintings. It takes two.
It is the audience that give it value, give it meaning, give it a life, a cultural life, and the bottom line is you want people to walk towards it. That's the best you can ask for, is they'll walk towards it. If they're drawn to it, they don't hide it. It tends to register. There's a literary term, there's a quickening. Here you are beholding something, you're generally this close to it, and you're still, but there's a simultaneous lift of the heartbeat and a slowing of the blood in the brain.
How would you say someone should look at a painting?
Slowly, blindly, hungrily. And I think you don't need to go there with anything other than yourself. You know, you just go there with your attention and it'll tip into you. It's a great thing.
There are so many reasons painting might matter to you. Reasons you may already have without even realising. Because it hooked you as a kid. Because it connects you to the past. Because it says what you can't find words for. Because it manages to sum everything up. And sometimes just because. There's a whole world of painting out there, just waiting to be discovered. Over the coming weeks, we're going on a journey to encounter paintings like you've never seen before. I'm going to show you how sexy painting can be. Ask big questions like, do portraits belong in a photographic world? Whether paintings that look like nothing are really about something. And hunt for connections between old and new. I'm going to find out whether painting can make any difference in the real world. And most importantly, I'm going to change the way you see.